Welcome to Make You Remarkable, brought to you by Oconee State Bank, the podcast that's all about unleashing your inner leader and making an impact on your community. Get ready for a wild ride of inspiration, education, and a whole lot of fun. Each week, we sit down with local legends, business owners, and influential minds to talk about their journey, their impact, and the secrets behind their incredible success. This is not your ordinary bank podcast. We're here to bring the energy, the laughs, and the aha moments that'll leave you itching to conquer the world. Now get ready to make your remarkable with your host, JT Tomlin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Make You Remarkable, hosted by Oconee State Bank. I'm JT Tomlin, and today I'm joined with Michael Burnett, CEO of Piedmont Athens Regional. Michael is a UGA alumni with a dual master's in business admin and healthcare admin from Georgia State University. He started his career as a patient registrar at Athens Regional in college and climbed the ladder to CEO. Piedmont is Athens-Clarke County's largest hospital and serves a 17-county region. It also is the official healthcare provider for the UGA Athletic Association. Under Michael's leadership, Piedmont has drastically improved the lives of the people of Athens and their surrounding communities. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, seriously, thank you for coming. Tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Fayetteville, Georgia, and was fortunate enough to attend the University of Georgia. Not sure I could get in today, but while I was in college, I got a job at Athens Regional time as a patient registrar and worked in the evenings in registration down the ER to help out, and really enjoyed the hospital setting. I was originally thinking about going to medical school, but at the time I met my wife, and we were dating at the time, and her husband was a hospital administrator as well, and is retired now. And just fascinating with the complexities of that environment. Decided I wanted to go into healthcare administration and went to Georgia State for those graduate degrees. And then as a part of that, you had to do a fellowship, which I was fortunate enough to be able to do at Piedmont Atlanta, and was there for a couple of years and then transferred to Piedmont Fayette, which, as I said, is where I grew up and was able to really build that hospital, and had the opportunity to come back to Piedmont Athens Regional in 2019. So
that's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about how you climbed the ladder from registrar to CEO.
Well, I guess it really started at first when Piedmont Atlanta, after I did my administrative fellow, they kept me on as the operations director for the heart center there, and did that for a couple of years. And then it was very interesting. I did have a 6-month sabbatical, is what I call it, where I left and went to the Emory Clinic. They doubled my pay. I was a struggling student, just got married, and I just didn't enjoy it. I was in downtown Decatur, but not in the hospital setting, missed that. And Piedmont called me back and said, we want you to come back and start a decision support department for the hospital. And I jumped on that. So 6 months later, I was back at Piedmont and did that for a couple of years until opportunity opened up at Piedmont Fayette Hospital. And of course, being that my hometown, I tell everybody it's very interesting when you work in the hospital in the hometown you grew up in. It keeps you accountable because your mama calls you up and says, Miss So and So's in the hospital. So and So needs help with the job. Everybody's your church bulletins. Okay, who I got to go visit. So that was fun. But I always had a special place, though, for Athens Regional. And when they joined Piedmont in 2016, just the opportunity to come back here, my wife and I were just thrilled because, like I said, we met here. She loves Athens, and it was a great opportunity. So I will tell you a funny story. We have 3 kids. My oldest is Michael. He's 24. Grace is 20, almost 21. And then Henry's 18. By the time Michael had just got accepted to Georgia. And so 3 months later, we sat him down and told him, hey, kids, guess what? We're moving to Athens. His first response was, why are you following me to Athens? He's like, wait a minute, I was trying to get away. And we were able to enjoy that, kind of cheat the system. My daughter is now a junior here in Athens, Georgia. And my son is dual enrolled right now. He's at North Oconee and is planning on attending UGA as well. So we kind of cheated the system of that. And it's wonderful because we can get together for Sunday dinners. That's kind of our thing. And we get to see each other more than not. So it's been special in a lot of different ways.
It's beautiful. You're able to be in the same setting, but he still kind of gets to go to school by himself.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I told him, I said, and he realized pretty quickly, I said, it's not like you're going to see us. And if you do, I'm out too late.
Right.
So,
well, tell me more about working at Piedmont. What is the mission, vision, the values? What is the culture like?
Probably the most important thing is our purpose statement. And it's kind of like make you remarkable. Our purpose statement is to make a positive difference in every life we touch. And we came up with that because when you talk to people that got into healthcare, that was the reason why. They wanted to help people. They wanted to make a positive difference. And so we talk about that. We celebrate that. It's the culture that we create. We also have what's called our plan on a page that Kevin Brown, our CEO, really put together for all of Piedmont. And it has 4 kind of pillars on it that are so important to us. At the center of the page is quality, safety, and service. To make sure that we provide high quality care in a patient-centered environment and a safe environment. And it's in the center of the page because that's the purpose. That's why we're here. It's supported, though, by some other pillars. Talent. We need people and engaged people to help deliver that care. It's a service-type industry that's not just the medical and clinical side, but from the first person you meet when you come in. It sets up the experience for our patients and visitors. Stewardship is another one, and I like stewardship because it's not just about the financial side of things. We need to be financially sound in order to grow, but we want to be good stewards of what we've been entrusted with. And so, not wasting supplies, not doing other things like that, and protecting our bedside staff. And then strategic growth. If you're not growing in healthcare, it's hard to survive in today's environment. And so that's kind of what we call our plan on page, but it's embedded with our purpose statement to make a positive difference in every life we touch.
Going forward, talking about like how those attributes kind of play into your career at Piedmont, what are some challenges that you faced in your time?
I guess I would say 25 years ago in healthcare, you could predict what was going to happen in 3 years. It was very, predictable. Starting about 10, 15 years ago, the whole environment's changed, and you have to be flexible, you have to be nimble, we have to adjust quickly, we have to, and at the same time, never lose sight on our quality, safety, and service. We measure a lot of outcomes now. I start every Monday morning talking about quality. With our team, looking at tracking hospital-acquired infections, our satisfaction scores, or other things, and making sure that we're moving the needles. We've been able to do that, and so. But the challenges have gotten, really more difficult. I think everyone's felt inflation. We feel it too. Whether it's the salary market remaining competitive, drugs prices have increased, supplies shortages. We're dealing with an IV fluid shortage right now because the Baxter plant in North Carolina that makes was destroyed by one of the hurricanes. And so we're having to get creative on and looking at other suppliers and distributors on that. But that's also kind of what keeps you going.
Right.
It's your day is never. You might have a calendar of what you're supposed to be doing that day. It's going to change. You have to be nimble and flexible.
What caused that change, do you think? Like, what caused it from being a pretty consistent, steady thing to being something that changes so rapidly? Yeah,
I think a lot of it has to do with the healthcare economics, which is one of the most complex and confusing things that anybody's ever seen. We continuously get governmental cuts from Medicare, Medicaid, and I tell everybody when you hear somebody at the federal level talk about the cost of healthcare, they're not talking how we think about costs. They're thinking about how much they spend on Medicare, and so there's always cutbacks to that. Same thing with Medicaid. We lose money on Medicaid and Medicare patients. And then the insurance companies have gotten much more difficult to work with, having to get prior authorization for everything. And then a lot of times that might take a week or getting denial of claims. And so the financial side of it is driven some more that we really have to work hard. We've had to work harder and harder really to protect our staff. And that's been the hard part about it, because we want our staff to be engaged and be able to take care of patients. And, at the end of the day, that's somebody's mom, that's somebody's dad.
Right.
That's in the hospital. And you want your staff to be there and engaged to be able to take care of them.
Kind of going on that route, how does Piedmont invest in their communities? How do you invest in those patients that are there?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I think one of the things that when Athens Regional decided to join Piedmont, Piedmont agreed over a 7-year period to put in $326 million. And you just think about the capital infrastructure and reinvestment. We have our new tower that's open on Prince. That's just beautiful. That couldn't have happened when it was just Athens Regional standalone, just because of the economies.
Right.
And if you think about how we're able to do that, we're now 22 hospitals. So when you have 22 hospitals buying hip and knee implants, you're negotiating, you're cutting the prices in half because of the volume discounts, and that's able to reinvest back in the facility as well. So, been able to, also over the past 5 years, we've recruited about over almost 70 physicians too.
Wow.
Primary care doctors, OB, orthopedics, a lot of different specialties. And you think about what that does for a community, the economic engine, not just the care that's needed so you don't have to, leave the community, but they're going to employ office staff. They're going to employ, other things. And
right.
And so it's really an economic driver in a lot of ways with that. And we also, we try to support as many local charities as well that fit in with our mission as well of taking care of patients. So there's a lot of different ways that we invest in our community, but probably the biggest thing is that economic impact that a lot of people don't think about with hospitals.
Right, you're bringing jobs, you're bringing opportunities. That's really powerful.
Yeah, and we also like to, you mentioned we serve 17 counties. We kind of joke now. I think we're going to start calling it 18 now that drive in. We're a level 2 trauma facility.
Oh, wow.
The only one in the region. So a lot of high-end specialty type care people can't get in outlying facilities. And so they come to us, and you think about every time that somebody's in the hospital, they're driving in or they're coming to see a doctor, they're going to get lunch, they'll probably stop at Costco or Sam's and maybe stay in a hotel. So it really helps the community thrive as well.
I think I was at the subway across the street from you guys, and I was talking to them about that. And he was like, we're booming. Like, just because Athens Regional or Piedmont is right there, there's always people coming in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't think of it that way until I had that conversation. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. You really are helping all of the businesses around you thrive because you're bringing, like, people are having to come in for the hospital visits. And it's a really impactful way to build up that community. Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Like, do you have a mantra or anything that inspires you or keeps you moving forward?
I think years ago, I heard this. I think Jack Kemp said it. Said people don't care how much you know until you know how much they care. And that always struck me is that way. And the underlying theme of that is trust. As a leader, if your employees trust you and know you, they will. You can move mountains together, but you have to know and understand your employees and your people, and they have to know you. And that, in order for that to happen, you have to be vulnerable. Vulnerability builds trust. So, and when people get to know each other better, they trust each other. I think one example is every Monday in our executive staff meeting. And I've done this for years, and people at first think it's kind of odd, but we start off, our first agenda item is a weekend update. What'd you do over the weekend? And, and now it's kind of one of those things where people look forward to it. And what you find out is that, you find out if they have kids, what they did with their kids, or what restaurants they like, or maybe they went to see their parents that live somewhere else, and you're breaking down these walls, and over time, what happens is people kind of look forward to, hey, guess what I did this weekend,
right? And
it's a subtle way for people to be vulnerable, for you to get to know each other, for them to get to know me, and then that trust goes, and it's so strong.
Well, talk a little bit more about the trust. I mean, I want to talk to you about COVID some, but how did you build that trust, and how did that trust kind of keep you all going during COVID? Yeah,
it was interesting. I had been in Athens maybe 9 months before COVID hit.
Wow.
Just getting to know the team and employees, and we've got 3,300 employees, so there's a lot of people out there. And it really, I think, put that building those relationships on steroids, quite honestly. Looking back, I mean, we got to know everybody. We'd go up on the COVID units and visit with the nurses and talk about their fears and concerns. In the very beginning, remember, they didn't even know if they could wear their clothes home.
Right.
And they're going to give it to their kids. Those are things that were real. And yet it was so impressive. They would still come in every day to take care of the patients. There was no question about it. Some would go home and sleep in a guest room and not see their kids until they knew what the risk was.
Wow.
And so the fact that we would try to get out with our staff and let them know how much we appreciate that, I think went a long way. The other thing that we found when COVID first hit was we sent out almost daily communications because early on the messaging was changing so fast, even by day. And so we want our staff to know the latest, what the latest protocols were, and be able to care for that. So that communication, I think, went a long way in helping people know that we care. We care about you, and we care about our patients.
How did that change your mindset when it came to like the healthcare?
I think I don't know so much changed, it just reinforced what incredible staff we have. As I mentioned, there was nurses and staff and dietary workers that, did not hesitate to take care of patients. And then the creativity. I think one thing that we did, we pivoted and moved faster than we have ever before.
Wow.
Having to get negative pressure in rooms, this didn't go to any kind of committee. Just go up there and let's do it. We learned to really be fast and projectile. The other thing is we got creative too. One of the things I'd like to, in our cafeteria we had a salad bar, and of course, I don't know who, but somebody said you can't have salad bars anymore right now. And so what we did is we took that and we started putting with toilet paper and paper towels and fresh fruits and other things that our employees could, while they got their lunch, and that was popular, because no one could get toilet paper,
right?
And we were able to get to our suppliers and be able to help get that back to our employees. And again, it's a basic need, but it was fundamental, and making sure they had fresh fruit, fresh things to take home for their family. So, you just adapt and try to do what's right.
I mean, that's powerful. I think everyone remembers that time. You have all the social media is just going viral with everyone talking about how incredible healthcare workers are and how vital they're being. And it's impressive to see how y'all took care of them at that time.
Yeah, it was, as far as COVID itself, we had different phases that we've gone through. The first two waves were probably the worst because we didn't have testing. We couldn't test. We had a Boy Scout troop making gowns out of plastic wrap because we were running out.
Oh wow!
And patients were not making it. It was very tough. I mean, I was up on the unit once, and they had to decelerate the care on 4 patients in 30 minutes.
Wow!
And for our staff, that's not why when I go back to why they got into healthcare,
right?
It was so devastating those first few waves, and then the second really phase was after the vaccines came out, and that was interesting because all of a sudden about 95% of the patients that we saw in the hospital were all unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, you still might get it, but you're not going to be so sick that you would come to the hospital,
right? And
so that was frustrating because they would want to know when they got to the hospital, can I have my vaccine now? And it's like, you can't have it right now when you got it. And then the third waves, and we still see some of this. Fortunately, people have built up, either had vaccines or have had COVID and built up immunity. And so they're not as sick. A lot of times they might be they have COVID, but they're in for heart issues, something unrelated to the COVID, and they just tested positive. So it's been kind of a gradual change and more kind of just accepted as what we do now. So,
how did that shape you as a leader?
It taught me that I think for a lot of us at first we had to relearn how to find balance in our lives. For those first 2 months, literally we were at the hospital every day, and it wasn't until like a Sunday that we stayed at home, and because things were moving that fast. I think it helped me also, like I said, appreciate better what our staff are willing to do to take care of their patients. I always knew that. I never questioned that, but dadgummit, you can't argue with what they're doing. And I wish that more people could see what our staff did during that time. Because I don't think a lot of folks were, were at home, some, right. And here they are going in every day, putting themselves at risk. And then when we started having employees get COVID as well, and we're taking care of our own employees, that was tough. And so it just makes you appreciate what they do each and every day.
What are some of the best things to come out of that time? Some of the best moments or the best lessons learned? Because it was such a hard time. What were some of the silver linings?
The community around us was incredible. I think one of the first lifts that we got was Charlie Upchurch, Realty, came in and stayed up all night and cooked barbecue and fed the whole hospital.
Wow.
And everybody ate. And It was incredible. We saw community groups rally with giving us masks, cleaning supplies from schools, because we couldn't get them. We had a lot of groups that made masks for us. UGA was incredible. They created these face shields in their lab that they could prevent, brought over a lot of supplies for us as well. Even we didn't have to use it, but a ventilator was brought over from the veterinary school in case we needed it, but we never had to use it. But it was just incredible, the partnerships in the community, that there's just a ton of good people around here that wanted to help, that wanted to do good things. And then a lot of other businesses started adopting departments and bringing in food and feeding them. And it was it meant a lot, particularly at that time, because our staff were so tired.
Right.
And just thankful that, the people that we in this community will go above and beyond. And you don't hear about it a lot.
I mean, I think that's one of the most incredible things about Athens is when times get tough, they show up. And, there are times where we can feel separated, but then all of a sudden, like with COVID, it just changes things.
Yeah.
Everyone's helping each other, making it work.
Yeah. We had, one instance, we call it we laughing, Jason Smith, our chief operating officer. It was a Friday afternoon. We were supposed to get our first kits where we could test patients, because we had patients in house for 14 days and we didn't know if they had COVID or not early on, because there was no testing available. Well, we found out we had a testing kit and supplies in the distribution in Atlanta. It was supposed to come out Friday night. Something happened, I think, with the delivery truck, couldn't make it. So Jason got in his car that next morning, drove over there, and we had, that Saturday morning, we had a test running for all of our patients so we could determine how to treat them and all that. I mean, it's just that kind of, just stepping up that was just, I always remember those times when people, and today we still kind of refer back, let's just do it.
What are some of the best tips for leaders that you gained from that time of your life?
I think it was important to be visible, to be with your staff, to understand their concerns and make sure that we're addressing them, particularly when you have vague guidelines coming out every day. Communication is so key during those crisis times. If you don't feel or answer the questions that your employees have when they're already scared, it's only going to be filled with negativity. And so you have to be proactive, stay on top of that, make sure that you're being truthful. Here's the results. And those messages that we send out every day, I think really help to do that. And it helped to calm. I think we were able to stay ahead of a lot of issues because of that.
So we were talking about like the importance of leadership and how you led your team. How do you and your team create remarkable experiences for the people that you serve?
I think one of the things I'm most proud about is I mentioned our purpose statement. And so when you have a statement like that and make a positive difference in every life you touch, you have to figure out how do you ingrain it in all levels of your culture, right? And sometimes it's just letting people know they can go there. And what we do is every month we have what's called a Promise 360 award winners. And people are nominated for going above and beyond, and there's some incredible stories that come out of that. So we have a couple winners each month, and then we have a winner overall for the month. At the end of the year, all 12 winners for each month are put in for the winner for the whole year. Okay. And then that individual goes on to compete against the other 22 hospitals in Piedmont for the overall system champion. So it captures everybody's experience. But when we present every month, we go out there and we have certificates, we have flowers, and we read these stories. It really reinforces that it's not, it's creating a culture that when you talk about making a positive difference, it's, a lot of times we always say that the staff says, well, I was just doing my job. No, you weren't. And I'll share with you, this past year's award winner for Piedmont Athens was John Hammond. And he was a PCT in our ER. Just does an incredible job every day. But we had 2 young boys that were both shot while watching TV. One was 8, one was 3. Brought them into our emergency department. The team was really working on one of the boys who unfortunately didn't make it. The other one just had it wasn't a bad injury. But John noticed that he was by himself and the mother hadn't gotten there yet. He went into the room. It wasn't his patient, just sat with him and comforted him and helped him talk through because he was so scared about his brother. He knew that his brother had a hole in his stomach, and John took the time just to be with him for as long as it took, not anything else. And it's examples like that, those stories come out that really inspire you to you're never too busy to do something what's right.
Right.
And every month I'm just impressed by that because that reinforces our culture that that you're allowed to do that. We've had some other award winners that we had a patient that had a stroke that couldn't communicate, and so one of the nurses worked out a system where he would blink, and he could do that. He couldn't move anything else, and was able to get communicating with him about yes and no and some things that were going. I mean, it was just an incredible story. The overall award winner for Piedmont came from Piedmont Mountainside, and he was nominated because he was on his way to work and he noticed the house was on fire, and so he ran, banged on the door. There was a family and an elderly couple with 2 of their grandkids in the house. Got them out of the house.
Oh my gosh!
The fire department hadn't gotten there yet, so he gets a hose and starts trying to put out the fire. And he got to work a little late and was apologizing because he smelled like smoke. And what was incredible with that was not only they were asleep. He was coming in for an early shift. And he probably could have saved their lives,
Yeah.
About 6 months later, the couple came into the ER because the gentleman had fell and cracked his head, not serious. And they were asking about where's the guy that they knew he worked here. They were trying to find him because he had given the wife his coat he had on because they were outside and it was cold. And he was the one actually taking care of him. And they reunited at that moment.
Wow.
And they were bragging about him and they were asking for him. And it was just a incredible experience. So these stories you can't make up. I mean, they're just incredible. But by having our Promise 360 as a way to harvest those, and when you hear about them, say, hey, that's a nomination right there. It helps to reinforce the culture. And what I think y'all call those remarkable moments.
Right. That man sounds like an all-American hero. That's crazy. It sounds like something out of a TV show.
Yeah.
That he was just driving and.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that you said earlier that I really I think rings so true is that so many people get into healthcare because they're interested in medicine or they want to help people, but they had no idea that like with COVID, how would you know that you're going to end up working through a global crisis? And how would you know that like no one wants to deal with death, and no one, when you get to healthcare, you want to help people. How would you be prepared for that? And that's powerful to see how y'all have done so much good work for our community and how it's impacted. I mean, you think of all the families that came through COVID and just the fact that you did have doctors and nurses that were willing to, without really any direction, knowing what's going to happen with COVID, just they're still working. They're going to help you out. They're going to help you figure this out. Super powerful. And it does make for those remarkable moments where, wow, it's impressive. Well, as we're wrapping up, we have two questions that we ask everyone. First, what does make you remarkable mean to you?
I think for me, as a leader, it's create an environment where people know that they can do that. And I always say it's okay to go there. You know, when you see somebody in need and I need to go get them a wheelchair, or I need to go help walk them directly where they're going. I might be late for this, but I'm going to, it's knowing that that's the environment, the culture that we have. And when you see that, when you instill it, it makes me want to do more too, because you can be busy, you can have meetings, you can be running around all day. But when you see others and you create an environment where they can make those moments happen, it actually inspires me to look for them as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, when you get your inspiration from your employees, it as a leader, is rewarding.
My other question is, how have you personally made you remarkable?
Oh,
it's a little harder.
Yeah. I don't, well, first my family, I have a wonderful wife, Amy, and we've been blessed in so many ways. And our three kids we're so proud of them and what they, the track they're on and the individuals and the young adults that they become. That's probably the thing I'm most proud for. From a career standpoint, I think having been with Piedmont for so long, it's been a great journey. When you look at my time at Fayette, when I got there, it was a 50-bed hospital, and now it's one of the largest hospitals in the system. Wow. When I got to Athens, we've had, our average daily census was about 300, and we're sitting around 380 today.
Wow.
So, with the new tower, a lot of growth, and bringing those physicians that need to be here in this community, it's rewarding to see that. It's just nice to know that because, there's somebody. And I always said, there's somebody's mom, there's somebody's dad, brother, sister that is going to need that. And heck, one day I might too as well. So, and it's about finding the right people to help meet people. People don't think about using the hospital until they need it.
Right.
But you want them to trust that whatever that service is, whatever that it's going to be there.
Well, as we wrap up, we have a lightning round that we ask everyone, and they're just fast questions, super short. Share a personal or professional best.
Personal is meeting my wife, and then professional is just my time at Piedmont. It's been great.
What is the most impactful piece of advice you've ever been given? That's a really hard one.
Yeah. I think it's something my dad taught me, and it's stubborn persistentness, which is it's hard to explain, but it's that never giving up. And if it's worth something that's worth fighting for is there. The other thing is from my mother, and we lost her a couple of years ago. Every day when I would go to school, she would say, "I want you to say something nice to somebody today." And a routine every day. And then when I got home, she'd say, "Did you say something nice to somebody?" And I always laughed because Miss Kane was our bus driver, and she was my last chance to say something nice to somebody if I had. And so Miss Kane loved me. But not only was the advice there, but she asked us, "Did you say something nice to somebody today?" And it's so simple. but it's so powerful.
She holds you accountable to it too. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you're like you said, your bus driver got all the compliments.
Oh yeah, it was my last chance if I hadn't said anything nice on my
like, Mom, I promise I did.
Yeah.
Might have been the last thing I said, but I did it. Do you have a nickname or something that your staff calls you?
I don't, at least not to my face. Probably the only really name that I had was in high school. I worked at Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
And they all call me the Beeve.
The Beeve.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Just because I would get in situations like on Leave It a Beaver that were just silly, Just they're like, "You're the Beeve. You can't help it."
It's a pretty good nickname, though. That's awesome. What is your best tip for leaders?
For me, it is finding the balance. And for me, I had to learn this the hard way. Back in, I guess, February of last year, I was actually admitted to the hospital for 4 days.
Wow.
Had AFib. And I had been just burning myself on both ends, every night, weekends, and it was catching up with me. I wasn't getting the electrolytes I need. I wasn't, eating the diet that I should be to help with that. And that was kind of a wake-up call that I've got to slow down and I have to find that balance.
Right.
And I've done that. And I've had no other issues with it. I've had a procedure to help fix it. And it's just, there's always one more thing to do. And you have to be careful with that you're not taking care of yourself also as a leader.
So taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Sure. Got it. What is your favorite book or other resource and why?
Favorite leadership book is Start With Why, Simon Sinek. And I think that's something that always came back to, that helping in a hospital like a housekeeper understand the importance that their role has on helping patients not get a hospital-acquired infection. By making sure that room is cleaned the right way, you can have just a powerful impact on our quality as a nurse or a doctor. And if you can explain that at all levels of the organization, people own it. They'll take it. They'll run with it.
Kind of gives them that reason to do it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh. We had this debate with a friend. It's either to fly or be invisible. And to be invisible to me is kind of creepy.
It really is.
It really is. It just doesn't seem. So I think if I could fly, that'd be pretty neat.
I love that it always comes down to those two. Everyone's like, it's either flying or invisibility. I'm like, why is it those two?
Yeah.
But flying would be awesome. I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking a lot about COVID and your impact in Piedmont. It's been incredible.
Well, thank you for having me and enjoy the work that you've done and some of the other podcasts as well.
Well, thank you.